We'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to call our meeting to order. And if everyone would please share with me in a moment of silence. Thank you. We have a visitor tonight that's going to say our pledge, and her name is Miss Sloan Murray, and she is 4 years old. If everyone would stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic in which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good.
Thank you, Sloan. That was perfect. Board members, we need to approve the minutes of the prior board meeting. Everyone has had a chance to go over those. And if there are no changes, I need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
A motion by Ms. Wells, a second by Mr. Bowers. All in favor of approving the minutes of the prior board meeting, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. Approving the agenda. Board members, is there anything that you would like to add? If not, I need a motion to approve the agenda. A motion by Mr. Johar.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bowers. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. And recognitions, Ms. Embry?
Good evening, board members and guests. I would like to recognize the men and women who we just celebrated with earlier this evening for their years of service to our school district. There were a total of 30 retirees for the 2017-18 school year, with a combined total of 655 years of service. We wish the following individuals the best upon retirement. Polly Allen, 32 years. Beverly Newman, 32 years. Tracy Ashley, 31 years. Gayla Wester, 30 years. Amy Driscoll, 30 years. Laura Franklin, 28 years. Amy Luttrell, 28 years. Paul Moore, 28 years. Pam Millay, 27 years. Lori Tatum, 27 years. Sandra Elshad, 27 years. Ramona Fuller, 25 years. Beverly Williams, 25 years. Kathy King, 25 years. Dale Bradley, 23 years. Teresa Peary, 22 years. Linda Courtney, 21 years. Becky Frazier, 20 years. Cecilia Mallory, 20 years. Gerald Wood, 19 years. Veronica McGee, 18 years. Carolyn Penley, 18 years. Stevens Collins, 17 years. Jetter Jessup, 17 years. Bonnie Gibson, 14 years. Libby Knight, 13 years. Suzanne Fulkerson, 10 years. Rosanna McManaway, 10 years. Roger Nelson, 9 years. And Diane Morgan, 2 years. Thank you.
We'll move on to the treasurer's report. Mr. Blitzinger.
Thank you, Chairman Rager. Tonight I bring you the month-ending numbers from June 30th, 2018. The revenues are as follows. Beginning balance was $21.928 million. Revenues, receipts for the month were $2.798 million, for a total of securities and receipts of $24.726 million. Also at this time, I also want to thank our finance department. As of this afternoon, about 4:15, we closed the year out. So now we're preparing to submit our unaudited annual financial report. Terry, Kim, Susan, Nona, that they all worked extremely hard to get that accomplished, and I appreciate their efforts. So expenditures. And accounts payable this month, the fund expenses were $1.357 million. Debt service was $2,100. Construction of $44,657. Food service had expenses of $64,507 for a total accounts payable of $1.468 million. Payroll was $4.419 million. Again, this is due to the 4 checks that were done in June, for total expenses of $5.887 million. Accounts payable, it's down about $72,000 from June of last year. This mainly in general fund and construction. Longest expenses were, last year we were paying for longest roof at this time. Significant bills in June were $393,629 paid to KEMI, which is a workman's comp. That's a prepaid expense for this fiscal year. $189,000 was paid to Wayne Supply for the three buses that were purchased on the discount. $52,000 was paid to Roberts Insurance for student insurance. Payroll expenses, gross pay this month is about $4 million. Employee deduction about $2.45 million, resulting in a net pay of about $1.6 million. Taxes were $630,000, KTRS $528,000, CRS $227,000. Insurance payments were $92,000, and other payments were about $1.34 million, for a total of $4.419 million. Accounts payable breakdown for all the funds. Fixed and mixed expenses were about $1 million. Utilities expense about $134,000, and variable expenses were about $373,000. Again, mainly the fixed and mixed expenses were those large payments that were made to workman's comp and the buses. So the breakdown of that, total accounts payable, $1.5 million. General fund was about $1.2 million. Special revenue is $172,000. Construction, $44,657. Debt service, $2,100. And again, food service, almost $65,000. So the cash ledger balance at the end of the month was $18.8 million. The bank balance is about $11.1 million. Outstanding checks of $839,000. For a cash close of $10.3 million. The breakdown of that $18 million is as follows: about almost $10 million, $9.6 million is a general fund. Special revenue is a negative balance. That's basically timing issue. Construction account is at $944,000. Debt service is at a negative balance. That's actually going to be it's zeroed out at this point. Food service is $285,661, daycare $72,000, and the investments of $8.5 million. The extended financial picture. In November of 2018, we expect the balance to be about $8.737 million. Any questions?
Any questions? If not, I'm sorry.
So this year, what did we receive back? I don't know if you can hear me. What did we receive from TVA this year?
It's about $6.8 million.
6.8, and is that what we budgeted?
We budgeted 6.4 because that's what
6.4?
they told us to expect.
Okay. And then this year, the General Assembly increased the per pupil funding. I
Correct.
guess. So this is the first time they've increased that for a while. So I know it doesn't go into effect once school starts, this year?
It starts in July.
Okay, so this month it's current. Okay.
Correct.
So do we have to make any adjustments in our budget?
I budgeted $18,823,000, and our amount came in at $18,920,000. So about
That's with the
$100,000
increase?
difference. So, excuse me?
That's with the increase?
That's with the increase, correct.
Okay.
So
I know
we
it depends on
We did increase that
attendance.
$100,000.
Okay, and then, I'm sorry, I missed that part. The end, what'd you say there at the end?
I increased the revenue side, the $100,000 that the actual came in when we did the
Okay.
tentative budget.
All right, and then also the General Assembly gave some districts that saw a loss in the coal severance tax.
Correct.
They gave us essentially a one-time gift.
We did, we got a $90,000.
We got $90,000. Okay, and then with that money, where will we place that?
It was applied to expenses. I mean,
To the general
it wasn't
fund?
specifically allocated at any
Right,
certain direction.
so essentially the general fund,
Correct.
okay? And then we're not expecting to receive that at any other point.
No,
Is this correct? Okay. And then also, next month, we'll be discussing the tax rate.
Correct.
What is it that you have recommended, or you or Mr. Davis have recommended this year?
Well, according to the plan that was submitted a couple of years ago, was we would take the tax rate every other year. So this is the year that it would be taken. However, it's up to the board's pleasure, to take it or not to take it, so.
So what is the recommendation? I mean, we've got an increase in SEEK funding, and then an increase one time from the General Assembly, the $90,000. And then we're on a decrease of enrollment, so we really have less students to need more money for. So are you saying that you're recommending compensating rate plus 4% or compensating rate?
Well, that's the 4%, and really what it is that 4% would gain us about $300,000 at this time because of the declining enrollment. That we had a $100,000 offset with the SEEK funding and the $90,000, so that's about $190,000 difference. So that really is not a large chunk in terms of our budget. So there are less kids, but a lot of the classes still have to maintain the education level that they.
Well, I'm just looking at it from a standpoint of, we've gotten generous gifts from not only TVA, we've gotten more than what we budgeted for, the $90,000 from the General Assembly. We'll have an increase in SEEK funding. So are you asking us to still take compensating rate plus 4%? And if so, I mean, we have
Well,
less.
it's either or. You can't take compensating plus the 4%. It's the compensating rate gets you the same amount that you would have received the prior year.
Correct.
The 4% allows you to receive 4% more revenue. So it doesn't necessarily translate into 4% more on your taxes.
It's based
It
on
just says,
the assessment?
if last year, we can only get 4% more revenue than we received, which is about $300,000 based on the tax collection rate for our county.
So we would have $300,000 more
Correct,
than compared to last year.
correct.
I've always understood it to be compensating rate or compensating rate plus the 4%. That's how I've worded it. So if that's not correct, then I appreciate you correcting me. But that's really how I've looked at it, because it would essentially stay the same if it's the compensating rate, based on property value, unless that changes.
Correct. I mean, it really, the PVA does a property valuation every year. So if there's increase in property, that can also help to essentially lower everyone's tax rate. So for instance, we get more industry in and there's a larger tax base, I can still only get 4% more revenue unless there's some new construction involved, and that's a different formula. But if I can only get 4% more for the district, and we take the 4%, if that's the case, essentially everyone's tax rate would go down because you're spreading it out over a larger base.
Yeah, but I think we have less lives in the county. Is that right?
In terms of,
Well, less citizens. I mean, like a lot of people. we
that's
have
correct,
less-
but the property values are still increasing. So our property valuation has gone up.
Thank you.
Is there anything else? If not, I need a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Wells.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bowers. All in favor of approving the treasurer's report, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I hear none. Payment of bills and salaries, Mr. Blitzen.
Thank you again. This month, I'm bringing you $236,682.17 in board bills. $168,789 of that is general fund. Approximately $4,600 is Fund 2, and debt service, $61,613, and food service is a little over $1,600. of the significant bills, again, was the debt service, the $61,000 payment per bond.
Are there any questions or comments on the payments of the bills and salaries? If not, I need a motion to approve. Motion by Mr. Johar, and I'll second. All in favor of paying bills and salaries, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. And payment of school bills.
Again, this month, there was no anomalies that were in there. Again, this is where the school secretaries, they closed out their year. Last week, the auditors came through, mentioned that the schools did much better this year, so there's continual improvement. I also wanted to thank those school secretaries as well, because last week we did a training on the new software that they are now implementing in the school for school level accounting. It was a great training. They all jumped in, and took right to it. Very impressed with how everyone grasped everything, and I do thank them for their efforts as well.
Thank you. Is there any questions? If not, I need a motion to approve payment of school bills.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Ms. Wells. Second by Mr. Johar. All in favor of paying school bills, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. Public participation, we have no public comments. So we'll move on down to Mr. Davis to the superintendent report.
Thank you, Chairman Rager, board members. Basically, it's all about prepping for opening day now. So we're all, everybody's on board trying to get ready for the kids to come back. And we're actually, the administration of the schools and the central office leadership will be at a KSA retreat next week in Louisville. And one of the things we're really going to be focusing on and talking about this year, and I'll be bringing it back to you more and more, is trying to teach and model soft skills more and more. It's something we're going to really talk about and get the community involved in as well. So I'm excited about that. That'll be part of the opening day talk, some things we look at there as well. I do want to give some special thanks to folks who work pretty hard during the summer. For some folks, it's a bit of a break, but for our custodians who are moving stuff in and out of rooms, doing the floors, it's a tough time. For our tech guys, for our maintenance guys, our mowing crew, they are super busy during the summer because that's times that, especially with the ones that have to be inside, they have the opportunity to do some things they can't with kids there. And I had no idea how hard and how busy it was at the central office during the summer. So as Eric said, I think they finished the financial at the end today or right at it, and we're doing a lot of hiring, so that's going on as well. So there's a lot of things going on there. So I want to thank those folks for doing what they do to get us ready to start school here in a few weeks. And once again, I want to say congratulations to the retirees. It's just they're a special group. They'll be missed, and I hope we can lure them back in one way, shape, or form. Certainly, at least as mentors, if we can. We'll certainly try that. And at this time, we'll see what the principals have to say about, I'm sure, getting ready for opening day. And we'll just let you stay where you are if you can speak up. So we will start this time. We'll go backwards. We'll start at the high school. So Ms. Bunks.
Yes, thank you, Superintendent Davis and board members. As he has already alluded to, the high school, our custodians have been hard at work, obviously. And I want to also give a shout out to our voluntary maintenance, Ms. Stephanie Knopsinger, the lady behind all the men in the maintenance department. She continues to send out emails often just to make sure when all our opening days are. So I appreciate her trying to double check with all of us. The high school are excited that we have majority of all our hires completed. This is the first time. This is the first time in quite some time that has happened. So we're very excited about that. And all of our sportings for the fall have started, and the coaches are very optimistic about the student athletes that we're going to have this year. So definitely we are ready to go in Mustang Nation. And just a real quick shout out to my cheerleaders. We have a large squad this year. But they just got back from cheer camp and brought home a lot of hardware. So I'm quite pleased and excited about what they're going to be able to do this year as well.
Thank you. And Sloan, thank you. Sloan, you did an outstanding job. We're proud of you. South Middle School, Mr. Lau.
One thing Davis mentioned as well. The tech guys have been in our building quite a bit this year. All of our teacher stations were replaced, so they've been there working around our custodians, trying to find the rooms that are available, those that are not. So big shout out to Chad and his crew of the tech guys, as well as our custodians. If you get a chance to stop by South Middle, we have our hallway signs now. That's an idea we picked up from the high school and also from school safety. So we have our hallways labeled and names, so come by and check those out. And also our open house is July 30th. So we get an opportunity for that.
Thank you, Mr. Lyle. Mr. Rager?
Mr. Davis kind of stole my the custodian's praise, but our custodians, they work hard not only to get the floors clean, but and shining, but painting rooms, painted all of the gym bleachers this summer, as well as they're still trying to put the finishing touches on another room as I was leaving today. I want to welcome you, invite you to our open house. It's going to be Monday, August 6th from 5 to 7, and we're going to mix up our format just a little bit. It's usually just been a drop-in basis, but this year we're going to start as a whole group setting in the gym. Sheriff McGee's going to come and he's going to talk to the entire group about school safety, and he's going to talk about threats, proper use of social media, and kind of what the students, the parents, and the community can do to help keep our schools safe. So we're going to start off with that and then break off into them meeting their teachers and getting their schedule. So if you get a chance, come by North Middle at 5 o'clock and maybe hear what Sheriff McGee has to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rager. And I will add that our opening day, we're going to have two speakers. One will be primarily talking about school safety, and one will be talking about use of social media. So kind of follows what he said there. And we will get the open house dates to each of you. If we haven't already, we'll make sure we do that. Renaissance Center, Mr. Watkins.
I'm kind of hop on the custodian bandwagon. Mr. Terry Denton, custodian for us during transition time. I know it's been before as well, but we had 2 or 3 classrooms still need to be more black and clean, and hallways as well. He was stepping in to help us out a lot. He's been there the last few days, and I think he's going to come back next week and help us finish out our day and get ready for the school year. Open house will be August 6th, and for the first time in 4 years since I've been there, we have all certified and classified staff back to last year. So glad about that, real happy about that. To have some stability in staff and our program.
Thank you. I don't believe I have anyone able to be here tonight from South Elementary, do I? All right. Mr. Hardison, longest.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. I just want to echo what the other principals you mentioned. We're really proud of the effort our janitors put in. Our floors are shining and they're incredible. We've got the rooms finished and they're wrapping up the hallway work. Some of the other heroes that are not mentioned are starting to show up at school. These teachers are starting to arrive, and they're fired up, ready to get their rooms ready. So we're going to have a lot of hours in these classrooms that many of us aren't going to see. So the next probably 2-3 weeks, keep prepping their rooms, and that's already happening. So I do want to mention, just like the other guys have said, that maintenance guys did a great job getting our gas line installed this summer. Tech guys have done an incredible job getting our tech ready to go. So, just really proud of the effort going on. I think Eric's good. The Secretary's doing well, learning the new software, getting our year reports done. So, a lot of work going on behind the scenes, and just really excited about it. One more thing we're excited about, we got our open house on Monday, August 6th. We got our new teachers. We welcomed her on Facebook, and she got well Facebook. We got 3,900 views that we put on there, so she's got a lot of friends out there sharing that information. She's excited to see it. We're excited about the new school year.
Thank you, Mr. Hardison. Ms. Jones, Greenville.
Definitely want to echo everything that they have said. We actually had a couple of leaks this week above our gym, and have to thank maintenance guys for getting right there and taking care of that, so they are just superb. A big shout out to our community Walmart school manager, Hazel Schaefer. She brought 5 of her department managers with her today and delivered Miss Sally, our family resource, for order school supplies that she always helps families with each year, families that need that. And she, actually, Hazel and her team live with us today, and they actually are willing to do community service hours. So I'm gonna share that with the other principals. I just learned about that. And so that was just a real big help today, and I know Ms. Callis really appreciated that. Also, we have our kindergartners coming in next Tuesday. We're gonna go ahead and do our advanced screening next week before school starts, so looking forward to introducing them to the building. They will come back the following Tuesday night for their K-Day orientation, and then on that next Thursday, we have our open house for 1st through 5th. And then August 1st and 2nd, as Mr. Larson said, teachers are already in and out of the building working hard, but we start full force with our PDs, our professional development. We have our Stop the Bleed and active shooter safety training on August 1st, and we'll be doing a literacy training on August 2nd. So getting excited on the school year.
Thank you. Ms. Higgs, Central City.
Mr. Davis, board members, we're excited. First of all, we are doing our second annual home visits school-wide. We begin those this past Monday. And as far as the home visits, the teachers are looking for the students to obviously, and a reminder about our open house. Those are going very well. Our building is looking good. Our custodians have worked very hard. They've worked all, this is the second summer in a row they've worked short-handed. So, but they are ahead of schedule, and I'm very proud of the hard work they've done. Also, to shout out to our tech guys who have worked around the custodians and the wax halls and the wax floors to upgrade our technology and to repair some of our technology. Today, our teachers are already back in the saddle with PD. We had a CPR, AT, and first aid training today from our teachers. And so they are certified. I already know that's a skill that we have to use. We can start our PD August 1st. So a lot of teachers again are able to classroom, so some of them are ready to go. Just like for students. We had Stop the Bleed and computer training on August 3rd. And our focus this year is part of our PLCs. It's going to be taking meaning of discipline and utilization of our PBIS training. Our open house is scheduled for August 2nd to 5 to 7, and then we're going to now in September.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sharp, Freeman.
Ms. Sherry had the picture on her. We just recently got a school safety update. It's a window you can clean, you can't, on a corridor, you can't really see behind it, but it kind of helps prevent visual security for our kids that are in that main hall. So really proud of that. Also, we just hired a first grade teacher, Michelle Gardner. She's coming with 11 years experience. We're excited to have her. Big thank you to Aaron Randolph, our family resource center coordinator. She just completed the Helping Hands giveaway. And also a big shout out to our community. A lot of people brought in things, didn't we use items locally. In fact, I even moved the TV all the way down Main Street on Freeman. Did myself and Eddie Lewis moved the big cabinet TV all the way down Main Street. So it was a good giveaway for some people that may need some things together for the school year. All the pods, hallways, the classrooms finished. Custodians did a great job. They finished all the waxing, so we're ahead of schedule. We're prepping for K-Day orientation. K-Day is August 1st, and then August 6th will be our open hat orientation for 1st through 5th grade. And we're working on PD on August 1st with camps and online discipline procedures and all grade levels and commentary. And really proud of our classified staff are coming in and working summertime, and definitely the teachers that are in there working really hard. They just walk around and relax.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp. And we have Ms. Sheffield here. Tell us what's going on in Job Corps.
Good evening. I first want to begin by thanking you again for coming last month. The impact you have, I don't think you understand. The students the next morning asked me, oh, did they like it? Did they like this? Was that clean enough? Was this, they really wanted to know what we thought, and they appreciated you being here. So we do appreciate that. We don't have custodians. I don't know if you knew that or not, but the students in the staff do all of the cleaning and repairs and things or whatever. We have moved into our new area, and so we've been doing a lot of painting, cleaning floors, cleaning floors. The students take a lot of pride in that. They're really enjoying that. We will be having open house in the center on the 10th of August, but they are going to do that during the day. And I wanted to make sure that you had an opportunity, and several of our community leaders had an opportunity to be there for the high school open house. So we will be having that at a later date in the evening or on a Sunday when more people in the community can come out and see that. I do have one announcement I'm very proud to make. At the beginning of this year at the center, we set a goal to try to be in the top 20 in the nation for for our program ranking for the whole year. Our program year runs from July to July. We just got the ranking a couple of weeks ago, and this is the first time that the center has ever hit the top 20 in the nation. We were one spot short of top 10. We came in number 11 out of 125 centers, and we're pleased with that. We feel like we accomplished what we set out for, and so we're looking forward to trying to beat that decision.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Sheffield. And Ms. Rager, Chairman Rager, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say I appreciate all your schools helping me get all these kids immunized and get their records. I'll track you down if I can't get a hold of anybody, right? But thank you, I appreciate that. Trying to get everybody compliant before school starts. So, next we have personnel actions. Ms. Browning?
These are the personnel actions from June 13th through July the 11th, 2018. In the area of certified personnel employment, we had 3. Reassignment of certified personnel, there were 2. Resignation of certified personnel, 3. Rescind certified personnel, 1. Classified personnel employment, there were 3. Resignation of classified personnel, 3. And reassignment of classified personnel, 9. And then rescind of classified personnel.
Thank you. And the yearly data security address, Mr. Wells.
Chair and board members, we have to yearly confirm that we are following the state's best practices and guidelines for data security, and as a district, we are following those. Some of this includes the physical security of equipment and records at the buildings, making sure doors are locked, things of that nature, making sure we have our file, print, and web servers securely, the permissions correct so people can't access parts they're not supposed to be able to access. Make sure our desktop security and laptops, they're patched up to date, make sure they have antivirus, and inform our users about email and attachments, correct use of that, and not to give anybody your password, things of that nature. Along with the passwords, we got to have access control and account permissions. We usually have passwords changed once a year, and this year we're probably going to increase the strength of those passwords because that is still an issue for industry-wide and education. So our passwords will probably require more stringent password this coming school year.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're moving on down to our board action items. The first one on under item A is approval of the 2018 textbook purchase. Ms. Robert?
Good evening, Chairman Rager and board members. I actually have picked, I have to get my decision paper. I'm sorry about that. I picked up the wrong paper. Sorry about that. Okay, as you know, Longest Elementary, they submitted their textbook plan, and they're seeking approval to make a purchase. So they have requested to purchase language arts textbooks from the Benchmark Education Company in the amount of $20,475. They're combining the entire amount of their 2016-17 textbook allocation, which is $14,382.64, with $6,092.36 of their 2017-18 allocation to make this purchase. So this is going to leave them with a balance of $1,696.44. And because they went ahead and did an off-list purchase, which they all are at this moment in time, off-list purchase, they had to go through all of the off-list purchase paperwork process, and they've done all of that, and I also have state approval already for their 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade purchases. So all their paperwork is in line. So I recommend that the Board of Education approve the textbook plan for Longest Elementary School in the amount of $20,475 so that they can purchase those needed textbooks.
Thank you. Is there any questions or discussion? If not, I need a motion to approve for the textbook purchase for Longest Elementary. Motion by Mr. Johar. Second by Ms. Wells. All in favor of approving the 2018 textbook purchase for Longest Elementary, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. Thank you. Item B, approving the alternate school policy and procedures. Mr. Watkins?
As stated in the Kentucky Administrative Regulation, each local Board of Education shall adopt and annually review policies and procedures for the operation of each alternative education program within the district. There are 6 components to the policy as listed. There has been one change to Section D. That change was the length of stay from 18 weeks, and now length of stay will be based on student need. We do plan to utilize the 18 weeks as a suggested practice. However, we are strongly encouraged to change the language to not be so absolute. This recommendation comes from our attorney who specializes in special education law and represents us when legal issues arise.
Is there any questions? If not, I need a motion to approve the alternate school policy and procedures.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Wells, a second by Mr. Johar. All in favor of approving the alternate school policy and procedures, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Thank you.
I hear none. Thank you. You're ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
There's a
We're down
lot,
to
so I need to
approving
get
the
started.
memorandum of agreement with Penny Royal Mental Health Center.
Yes, we're bringing this again to you this year. This is a continuation of the contract that we continue to have with Penny Royal Center. This will be the 3rd year that we've worked with them, and that has worked out very well with them providing practitioners to come in and provide counseling during the school day. And so I'm asking you to consider renewing that contract for the upcoming school year.
Is there any discussion? If not, I'll make a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement with the Penny Royal Mental Health Center. Second by Mr. Johar. All in favor of approving the memorandum of agreement with Penny Royal Mental Health Center, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. Now we're down to approving the memorandum of agreement with Hopkins County Schools for teacher of visually impaired.
We have several students in our district with vision impairments, and that does require special certification. So Hopkins County has been kind enough to let us have one of their teachers one day a week, so that allows us to provide the services to our students without having to hire a teacher 5 days a week. So I'm asking you to consider allowing this contract to continue into the next school year.
Any discussion? If not, I need a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Wells.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bowers. All in favor of approving the memorandum of agreement with the Hopkins County Schools for a teacher for visually impaired, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. We're down to approving contract with Teresa Combs for legal services in the areas of special education, Americans with Disabilities Act, and Family Medical Leave Act.
Right, Kentucky School Boards Association used to provide this service to districts as part of the package that they offer districts. However, a few years ago, they changed that model, and so school districts are left to find their own representation for special education and other matters like that. So we have chosen to work with Teresa Combs. We've worked with her as a district for a few decades, and so we definitely trust her guidance, and we do have a letter of engagement here that I need you to look at and consider signing that, please.
Everyone's had a chance to review this. Is there any questions? If not, I need a motion to approve the contract for the legal services for special education. Motion by Mr. Johar.
Second.
Second by Ms. Wells. All in favor of approving the contract with Teresa Combs for legal services in the area of special education, Americans with Disabilities Act and Family Medical Leave Act, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I hear none. Last one. All right, down to approve ARC and 504 chairpersons for the 2018-19 school year.
And this is a legal requirement through special education law and Section 504s that we actively provide you with a list of people or job descriptions that allow those people to chair those types of meetings. And so you'll see that's the Director of Special Education, Preschool Disability Coordinator, Guidance Counselor, School Psychologist, and
Need a motion to approve. Motion by Mr. Johar, and I'll second. All in favor of approving the ARC and 504 chairpersons for the 18-19 school year, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I hear none. Thank you. Down to consider the second reading of KSBA Board Policy Update Number 41. Ms. Browning.
I'm bringing this before you to consider the second reading for the board policy update number 41. After this is approved, if approved, I will send it on, and it will be published on our website and updated in our manual that we keep at the board office.
Okay, is there any discussion? If not, I need a motion to consider the second reading of the KSBA Board Policy Number 41. And I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second by Ms. Wells. All in favor of considering the second reading Board Policy Update Number 41, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. Thank you. Consider declaring outdated technology surplus. Mr. Wells?
Chair and board members, we need to declare some old technology item surplus. You have an itemized list of the majority of the items, mostly computers, laptops, printers, and such. We also have some TVs at Greenville that need picked up, and North Middle had some equipment that needed picked up, but I've taken it to our office. That was TVs, 2 VCRs, and 3 printers. With y'all's permission, we will contact a recycler to come pick up this equipment.
So those items, does that change the number on the list in the packet?
And we'll add 2 VCRs and 3 printers. We're in with the TVs at North Middle.
So that'll be updated for the
When we get our itemized list from the recycler also. But yes, the itemized items you have here, you would add 2 VCRs and 3 printers.
You said 3 printers?
Yes.
So then the attachment will be updated for our board packet? Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? I need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second by Mr. Johar. All in favor of considering declaring the outdated technology surplus with the additional 3 printers and 2 VCRs, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. Thank you, Tony. Down to considering student resource officer agreement with Central City, Mr. Blutzinger.
Thank you again, Chairman Rager. Again, this is just a continuation of the current agreement that we have in place with Central City. This will just keep this contract in place.
Everyone's had a chance to review that. Is there any concerns with this agreement? If not, I need a motion to consider the approval.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Ms. Wells, and I'll second.
Second.
All in favor of considering the Student Resource Officer agreement with Central City, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. Item J, consider granting permanent easement to the Recreational Trails Program for the development of an asphalt trail located on the west campus of the Muhlenberg County High School.
Thank you. Again, this is part of the second phase of developing the Ray Jones Park on the west campus of Muhlenberg County High School. This is adding a walking and running trail. This requires easement of the property to allow for construction of the trail.
Any discussion? If not, I need a motion to approve. Motion by Mr. Johar.
Second.
Second by Ms. Wells. All in favor of considering granting permanent easement to the Recreational Trails Program for the development of the asphalt trail located at the west campus of the high school, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. We're down to consider advertising and issuing requests for proposal for a guaranteed energy savings contract pursuant to KRS 485A.352. Eric.
This is to allow us to advertise so that we may start soliciting for RFPs, the request for proposal on the energy project that we've been discussing for quite some time now with East Campus. Right now, we're replacing console units very frequently. So this will serve to replace the infrastructure as well as the power plants and those sorts of items. Anything that we have purchased thus far, is not going to be, we won't have to purchase that again. So, that'll be part of the project.
So when you put these proposals out, what's the turnaround time that you expect to hear from someone?
KDE says we have to give 45 days for such an RFP.
Right, so the proposal will be available to be bid on, I guess, for 45 days?
Correct. You have to advertise it for 2 weeks in succession in the paper, the local paper of the largest circulation, so that'll be the Leader News at this point. So we'll put it in the next Tuesday, and then Tuesday following, and then have that deadline. So we just got to calculate it out to when those 45 days expire.
Is there any other discussion? If not, I need a motion to approve.
Make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Johar.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bowers. All in favor of considering the advertising and issuing requests for proposal for a guaranteed energy savings contract pursuant to KRS 45A.352, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. We're down to consider declaring 3 bus bodies surplus. Mr. Blitzing.
Thank you again. These are the bodies of the buses that we had to destroy the engines in order to get the 30% discount on the buses that we just paid for. So this is just merely to help offset the cost. It's a good thing, instead of having to just dispose of them, we're now going to make some money out of them. Again, the options are, we could do a sealed bid, we can scrap them, or we can sell them outright. Actually, an update from Monday is that I did find out that the scrap price has gone up. So this allows us to go back to the person that wanted to purchase them and get a little more out of these to help offset the cost even further. So it's a really good thing for the district.
Is there any discussion? If not, I need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
A motion by Ms. Wells, second by Mr. Johar. All in favor of considering and declaring 3 bus bodies surplus, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Now, how will we know if we scrap them or you sell them? Because I think you said that someone may purchase them, is that right? Is the
Correct.
purchase on that? So how will you notify the board? Like,
I can, I hadn't intended, I mean, we were just gonna get the most funds that we can out of
oh,
that.
absolutely. I'm just asking, how will we know which or either or?
I can notify you after they're sold, that's fine.
Thank you.
We're down to the board consent agenda. This is the leave of absence request, fundraising request. Everyone's had a chance to review all of this. If there is anything that needs discussed. If not, I need a motion to approve the board consent agenda. A motion by Mr. Bowers. Second by Ms. Wells. All in favor of approving the board consent agenda items, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. And need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Ms. Wells, second by Mr. Bowers. All in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. We're adjourned.